gonna make my brown butter, and I always like to weigh a little bit extra because when you brown butter, a lot of the moisture will evaporate from the end result. So we want to end up at a certain amount of butter, and if we only brown the total weight of brown butter, we're always going to end up with a little less brown butter than we would want. So we're going to turn our heat on max because I want to bring this process up a little faster because I will be integrating milk solids to really intensify the amount of brown butter, toasty, yummy bits. And like always, I am going to weigh out what I need because that's the way that you can make things the most accurate. But if you like to shoot from the hip, who am I to judge? Do you? Respectfully. You could already see that so much of that butter has melted on high heat, and I like to keep it this way because it really helps separate the milk solids from the actual fat. I am gonna grab my gloves just in case I need to move this thing. This thing is so hot. I don't know why I cheaped. Eventually I'm gonna buy a nice little induction burner. But for right now, well, like, watch, and subscribe so I can afford one. So you could already see that the water is starting to evaporate. We're starting to see a lot of bubbles coming forth. And right when I feel like enough of that butter has melted, like the whole stick has melted, I'll then incorporate the milk solids. So this is the amount of milk solids that I like to use, and I like to use instant milk solids because that's what's readily available. But if you have, regular degula, or you dehydrate it yourself, then you fancy. Let me stop talking and put this in the thing. So I go ahead and make sure that I mash it up a little bit because sometimes the milk solids, when you incorporate it from the instant milk powder, it will actually kind of clump together. But it's okay because we're going to be able to do what we need to do with what we got. And I mean, I know that I might be just talking to myself, but it really does feel like I'm here with you guys. Like, you guys are there in your house, in your little casita, tranquilito, watching me do this, and I feel like I'm talking to you because I've already met you in my mind, in my brain. One thing that I will say, I will always try to get a pot that is slightly bigger than what I actually need because you want that butter to have room to kind of like expand up, right? The milk solids kind of expand and they rise to the top and they sink to the bottom. But if you don't have, something that is there to help you kind of like mitigate all that rising and falling and all that stuff, you're going to end up with a big mess on your hands. And I will say that if this ever spills over into a heat source, it is highly flammable. So please take it easy. And you can already see that your milk solids are browning. They're getting nice and toasty, roasty. So what I like to do is I turn it off. I remove it from the heat source. And I remove it from the heat source. And if you guys had smell-o-vision, boy, oh boy, y'all would have been... You guys would have been enjoying the smells. This thing is lava, it's molten, my goodness. Trying not to burn down my house. I only got one of these. Your milk solids are nice and beautiful and toasted. And remember how I said earlier they would clump up a little bit? But that's okay because it really is going to provide pockets of flavor and depth. And I like to stop before they get really dark, right? It's not like Nancy Silverton's golden butter, but it's just in between super brown butter and golden butter. It's just like, a nice Caribbean butter, a nice little something. So I'm gonna put this in a metal bowl, just for me. You don't have to do it like this. But I would say take it off of the pan. Make sure you get all those bits at the bottom because that's where all the good stuff lives. Now you've made beautiful, delicious, extra toasty, but not brown butter. Extra toasty. That should be my nickname. Extra toasty, but only in the summertime. We're gonna put this to the side. We're gonna let that come down to a nice room temperature. We don't want to work with it when it's this hot because it can coagulate your eggs, it can melt the sugar, and that sometimes provides a little bit of destabilization for your blondie. And what we really want is to make a structured blondie that can hold up to the caramel crunchy topping that we're going to be putting on top here. And now I'm going to weigh out my sugar for my blondie base. And in this ratio, it's equal parts brown sugar to equal parts flour. And that's what's really going to make the structure hold. Brownies, blondies, all of that stuff, they have a lot of sugar. But what really makes sure that you have cakey versus, chewy is how much flour you're putting in with the sugar and then evening out the amount of butter and the amount of eggs, right? And here we're gonna put in some granulated sugar. It's not so much so for structure, more than it is for a little bit of spread. It'll give it a little help. And the amount is so nominal, but it really is worth it. It gives you that nice chew. So we have our sugar and our eggs, and I'm gonna grab a little half pint. I'm Dominican, so I sometimes make Dominican cake. So I always try to reserve any egg whites that I have from doing any recipes so that I can have delicious meringue or, anything that requires egg whites that doesn't need egg yolks, I'm gonna save them. And I'm gonna add that straight into my sugar. And I'm gonna make sure that I go in right away because you can actually cure your egg yolks, your eggs in sugar if you're not careful. And what that means is that it denatures the protein in the egg. Now let's add this extra one. Beep. Uh-oh. I'm not one of those fancy people that know how to crack with one hand. Those are cool guys. They'll be like, psh. Wow, my God, you're so talented. Yeah, I got a James Beard, but I don't know how to crack an egg with one hand. It's beautiful, silky, delightful, delicious brown sugar and eggs. So this has been sitting for a while. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to incorporate my brown butter with my brown sugar and eggs. I go in nice and slow at first because I don't want the butter to start splish splashing everywhere. This isn't Six Flags. Can I say that? Hey, it's my channel. I can say whatever I want. All right, now we pump up the intensity because I feel comfortable that I'm not gonna get splashed on. Oh my God, it smells so good. And before I continue any further, I am going to preheat my oven. Then we come back to our handy dandy trusty scale, because what good are we if we don't wait? Most people will say, oh, you need to sift your flour, this and that. I don't do it for things like that unless if it's like a super light and, fluffy genoise or, something that is really delicate. Or I'm afraid that there's like something. And if there's something, I'm not baking with that flour. On the money. Oh my goodness. So now we're gonna add some salt. And some baking powder. I like to really break apart all the little clumps just in case there's like a secret guy in there that's trying to ruin my bakes, I'll pulverize you. And a lot of blondie recipes would have added, vanilla or some type of extract here, but I'm really letting that brown butter sing. I really think that it does the brown butter justice. So we're gonna go in very light, very carefully, just kind of give it a nice little mixeroonie. And you don't have to get all crazy at this step, because I promise you, you're gonna have flour flying. And it's too much. At least I think it's too much because I'm lazy and I don't want to clean all that mess. I mean, sometimes when people be baking, they be blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh my God. Not because I think that's messy, it's just, I'm like, who's gonna clean all of that? Yeah, so make sure that you're getting down in the bottom. Oh, dang. See how that big old glob of unincorporated flour just came out of nowhere? You would have thought, I'm done, I got nothing. Then you bite into it and it's just flour. People are gonna be looking at you like, dang. And now we're gonna put this to the side and we're gonna prepare our pan so that we can place it in the oven and bake it off. We're gonna be using an 8x8, but just to make sure, I'll pull out some measuring tape. What's this? See, it's a 9. Oh my God. 9x9. 9x9, guys. Don't do the 8x8. I mean, it'll still work, but we're using the 9x9. So I take some pan spray and I just kind of do a little bit, and that's gonna act like the glue for our parchment paper. What I like to do is I'll take some scissors, I'll push it down so that it acts like the glue. And I kind of get it nice and aligned. And then I find the corner and I cut down until I feel like the parchment is giving some way. How I like to do it, because it gives me the most flexibility. So now that I've prepared my pan, I'm going to give my brownie one more stir just to loosen it up a little bit. And using that same rubber spat, I'm just gonna spread it. Until I can get it to the sides. What we really want is to make sure that we get it on evenly all around without making one side bigger than the other. You know, like we want to make sure it's leveled. It will melt and it will kind of like move around and move itself, but we want to kind of tell it, you know, this is where your new home is. Like, this is where you need to make shop. So we're gonna let our oven continue to preheat, and then we're gonna pop it in our oven. So now that our blondie has fully cooled down, we're going to add our caramelized white chocolate layer, and that's a barrier that's going to prevent the moisture from the blondie to reaching our crispy caramel topping. Our caramelized white chocolate is actually called Dulce, and it's from the brand Valrhona. And you don't have to buy this brand, but I would say that if you want to try it, you can order it online, or if you're in New York, they have a shop in Brooklyn. Sometimes it's difficult to find Dulce readily available, so let me know in the comments if you would like me to teach you how to caramelize your own white chocolate so you don't have to go through the hassle of buying this. So I'm really trusting that the package is 70 grams, and I am going to just need 1 bar. Ooh, I feel like Willy Wonka. I got the golden ticket. This is what your caramelized white chocolate should look like. I'm going to use a little measuring cup, and I'm going to actually melt this down in the microwave. And the really fun part about this is that you don't have to temper this chocolate. We're just using it as a layer for our caramel, and blondie. So we're gonna put this in the microwave for 30-second bursts. You don't wanna do more than that because you can actually overheat the chocolate and kind of burn the chocolate. White chocolate, dark chocolate, milk chocolate, they all act very similar when you put them under heat or microwave kind of like bursts. So you're gonna want to do this in 30-second intervals and then take it out of the microwave each time to stir. So at first it's gonna look like your chocolate isn't melting, and that is by design. Your microwave is internally heating up the chocolate. So what we wanna do is we want to kind of encourage it to melt, releasing some of that tension inside of the chocolate. And if you're really nervous about doing this with your microwave, you can use a bain-marie, like a water pot with a metal bowl with like a towel, but I find that that takes so much longer than you just doing a few short bursts in the microwave to get your chocolate, because what we're doing here is just smoothing it over just to get that kind of like thin layer. And that was just a minute, but you want to make sure that you stop in between and really let that energy get released. So that's why we stir. We stop and then we stir. We're gonna get an offset spatula. Working quickly, we're gonna pour. Make sure we scrape all the chocolates. This is a little expensive, so I make sure I scrape it up. Because in this economy, ain't nobody got time to be wasting shmoney. And now we're gonna spread it nice and evenly. We're gonna make a thin layer, just covering all the bits and bobs of our blondie. Any piece that is uncovered, we go and grab it. Just get in there. And this is the only time in the recipe that I'm going to suggest that you can pop this in the fridge. You could also leave it at room temp and let it crystallize at room temperature, but if you want to kind of speed up the process, you can use your fridge, but only for this step. Anytime other than that, don't. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make our caramel base. We have some white miso, some heavy cream, sugar, butter, and our handy dandy scale. So now we're going to pour our sugar. We're going to put our sugar directly into our pot, and we're going to be doing a dry caramel, so we're not introducing any moisture into this recipe because we want to control how much moisture is in this caramel. Measure our butter. Perfect, perfect, perfect. And now we're going to measure our cream. And I like to have it in a spout here because I want to be able to control how much I'm pouring. Also, I like to make sure that I'm not introducing too much heat or anything to my cream if I'm not going to use it all at once. And then all we're going to use is a teaspoon of our miso paste because we really want it to be a subtle flavor that plays very nicely with our caramel. And if you're really intimidated about using miso paste in a pastry or in a caramel, I recommend you to try it because it actually elevates a lot of the flavors. It'll activate a lot of salivatory glands in your tongue, and it kind of brings a different playfulness. The same way that you would use vanilla in a recipe when you're baking, you can actually use miso paste, and it's really lovely. So today we're going to be using 2 types of cereal in this recipe, and we're going to be using some popped rice and some cornflakes as well. There's going to seem like there's a lot of cereal in this recipe, but trust me, that's by design. I always have cereal on hand, not because I eat a lot of cereal, but because I like making Rice Krispie treats. There we go. So we have our cereal, and I like to give that a nice toss. So this is the last time that we're going to be using our scale for this recipe, so we put it to the side. So you don't have to have a little mat, but I like to do this because it kind of protects the integrity of my sheet pan. But you can just put parchment paper, or you could just not put parchment paper at all. I'm not going to judge you. And what we're going to do is we're going to spread this evenly in our pan. And I do this because I want to make sure that I toast my cereal before I integrate it into my caramel. What I'm trying to do is provide the crispiest, crunchiest, crispity version of this cereal before I introduce it to the very hot, very molten lava caramel that I'm going to toss it with. We're going to spread it evenly, corner to corner. So now we're going to cook our caramel. I'm going to start this off on high heat, and I'm going to use a very thin spatula, but that's just my preference. What I am going to do is I'm going to spread this out before it really starts cooking, and I'm going to make a little pocket to see what's going on underneath my caramel so I can tell if it's actually cooking or burning or not. And right now you're going to be tempted to kind of move this caramel around a little bit to try to encourage it to cook faster, but I recommend that you do not do that. Don't. Why? Because if you move it around too much before the heat actually starts to work through the sugar crystals, it will crystallize. And since we're not integrating any type of moisture to this, we can't combat those sugar crystals. We would really have to rely on the power of the heat source to really melt them down, and we don't want to risk that. We don't want a grainy caramel. We want something that's very smooth and velvety and luscious when we integrate our cream and our additives. And as you can see right now, the center is starting to caramelize. So what we're going to do is we're going to encourage a little bit of that caramelization to spread throughout, but also make sure that nothing in our pot becomes too dark. Very slowly, making sure that I don't build too many sugar crystals too quickly. And this part goes pretty fast, so you're going to want to now move with purpose and intention, bringing in all that sugar from the sides into the center so that we can encourage it to caramelize as well. And if you see any sugar that's kind of like clumped up, you want to kind of encourage it to get incorporated to this mix and become one with the caramel, one with the sweetness, one with the Maillard reaction. And the Maillard reaction really plays a heavy role. We're browning our butter, we're caramelizing our white chocolate, we're caramelizing sugar. That Maillard reaction, she working overtime, baby. All right, so now we're gonna turn it off and very carefully take it off of our heat source. I'm not trying to die today. What we're going to do off of the heat source is we're going to kind of stop the cooking. We're gonna add our cream very carefully, and I'm wearing long sleeves on purpose because I wanna make sure that I'm protecting my arms. Adding a little bit at a time. And what's happening is that the sugar is rapidly cooking all of the moisture in our cream. So if we were to add this all at once, it would bubble up and really get volatile. It would get chaotic. It would be scary. You could see now that our cream is turning into this nice luscious caramel, and I'm no longer afraid of my sugar being too volatile to accept this cream. And we're not done yet. We're now gonna add our butter. And I like to add cream first, then butter, because then I can kind of control how much moisture is coming into contact with really hot sugar. And stir until you don't see any more pools of your butter. Take our miso paste. We're going to integrate it into our beautiful caramel. And at the same time, now that we've let our caramelized white chocolate become a barrier, we're going to take it out just so that it's not cold and then hot from the caramel. We're just going to try to get all of the temperatures to kind of be very similar to each other. So we're going to mash down this miso paste to really integrate it into the body of our caramel. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take a temperature test to see where we are with our temperature here. 165 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit. So we need to bring that back up. We want to cook it to 245 to 248 degrees Fahrenheit to really make sure that that caramel is set and it won't be runny or goopy or not something that has structure. For this, we really want it to have structure and behave almost like a Rice Krispie treat. And before we bring it back up to heat, I'm just going to take some flaky sea salt and do a pinch. So I've taken out my beautiful toasted cereal and I'm going to put it in a bowl. So we're going to bring this back up. We're going to cook this until it reaches our desired temperature. And you don't have to wear an oven-safe glove. I'm just going to move this burner afterwards, and my burner gets really hot. So I'm not trying to burn myself on camera. So as that's coming up to temp, I'm going to show you how to make a very cute barrier. I make strips of folded parchment paper that I fold at the end to then tuck it into our pan to rise up. Make sure that I almost make like a riser. And some people, they have like acetate or very fancy kitchen tools, but since I'm assuming that some of you guys are at home, that you won't have acetate. There we go. So much easier. Oh my lanta. We're going to turn this off and just check our caramel to see where we are. And if I find that there are little flaps that are in the way, that might get in the way of the actual dish, I will cut them down to just give me a lot more wiggle room. And like I said before, I'm just trying not to get burnt. So just trying to very, very carefully move this out of the way. So this is what our pan should look like. Now we have our bowl of cereal and our beautiful caramel, and we're going to pour all of this in. Not concentrating in one spot, spreading it around. And then I scrape everything down. And I work gently but very quickly, making sure that I'm lifting under and over, just so that I can encourage the caramel to come into contact with the rest of the cornflakes. And as you can see, the amount of cornflakes that we did fully was absorbed by the caramel. And what we're doing is we're tossing and coating. Now working, like I said, with purpose, we're going to put down all of our caramel bits and bobs. We're going to spread and encourage our paper or parchment paper to act like a kind of wall. And using our spatula, I'm going to press down while making my hand act as a reinforcement to that wall that we just built. I encourage it to become compact, but still maintaining a lot of the light and airiness, and the caramel is really going to play a big role in that. And then to finish, I put flaky sea salt on top. And now you're going to let this sit at least 3 to 4 hours or overnight without being covered. You want all of the moisture to kind of release, all of the heat to release. If you leave the heat covered, it'll condensate and it'll make everything mushy. What we want is all that moisture to keep coming out. So now that your caramel has completely set, we can gently unmold. And you remember how I noted that we should have some overhang? This is why. We can very confidently unmold our blondies. And this is how you make beautiful, crispity, crunchity, brown butter, miso caramel blondies. It's just delightful, it's divine. And if you like this recipe, make sure that you drop me a like, a comment, or even subscribe to my Substack. Thanks for watching. Bye!